Welcome back. West African leaders have announced the lifting of sanctions against the military regime in Mali. The heads of states of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, meeting in the Ghanaian capital, Accra, accepted a proposal by the Malian military to hold elections and return to civilian rule by March 2024.
After discussion, the head of state took the following decision. The first decided to lift all the economic and financial sanctions that were taken on January 9, 2022. That means essentially the closure of the border and the freeze of the financial asset. So those sanctions are lifted. They also decided that the sanction taken in terms of recalling the ambassadors of ECOWAS member country, this sanction is also removed. So the ambassadors will return, be able to return.
The bloc had imposed crippling economic sanctions after army officers staged two coups in less than a year in August 20 and May 2021. It also accepted a 2-year timetable for the restoration of democracy in Burkina Faso, but told Guinea, a third country which has witnessed the military takeover, that it will face economic sanctions unless it could speed up its proposed 3-year transition back to democracy. Now, recall that in Guinea, their Colonel Mamadi Damboya had expressed, when ECOWAS had then given them limits to, the time frame for them to announce, the time for election, they had said I would take 39 weeks, or rather 39 months for them to transition back to civilian rule. But I would say that, things are looking good in Guinea, and we do hope that this spreads to Mali and to other parts that are still, grasping with trying to transition from military rule back to civilian rule.
Yeah, I would also like to, understand clearly, who gets to suffer when sanctions are placed on the country. Because, we've seen this thing, not just in Africa, also in other countries across the world. When you place sanctions on Venezuela or on Zimbabwe or in Russia, it's the citizens that suffer, So when military, imposters or whoever they are, carry out a coup in the government and decide that they're not going to let go, and then you place sanctions on the country. Why I'm asking these is because I feel ECOWAS needs to figure out a different way of doing things. I'm not expecting that they will invade any country or it will become more rash with their decisions, but there has to be a better way of doing things aside just placing sanctions on a country. Sanctions haven't worked on Russia, obviously, if you're looking at it from an international perspective, and so it's not going to work in Mali. Also, you will eventually lift the sanctions and still go on with whatever the coup plotters, the people who carry out the coup, plan to do in the first place. And so, why punish citizens for the actions of 3 or 4 or 5 people?
Well,
because it's the citizens that suffer when you place sanctions. Economic sanctions, whatever type of sanction, it's the citizens that suffer. Once in a while, you might block certain bank accounts, here and there, stop certain people from being able to travel or to visit, America or wherever. But, that's it. That's really what it is. And people have also criticized ECOWAS. If you see all the times when there's been crises in Africa, look back as far back as '94 during the Rwandan genocide. What really has ECOWAS, and I am being critical of ECOWAS this morning because I want to see better.
You want answers.
Yes, I want to see better. I want to see that when people decide that they will break the law, that they will take over a country, that they will not step down from government, I want to see that ECOWAS has better things that they can do aside just placing sanctions. We've seen African countries being under rule for 30 years by one family. It almost happened. Actually happened in Zimbabwe. It's about the same thing that's happening in Tunisia now.
Presidency has become an inheritance. People are handing it over to their children and their children's children. One would wonder why we're still having such conversations in 2022. But yes, I do agree with you. And also the military, a lot of these coup instigators, like we mentioned in the first half of the show, at the end of the day, what we find is that people are inherently selfish and trying to take power for themselves. So what they're trying to cure, they then become perpetrators of what they're trying to cure. They're trying to, to prevent an autocratic rule, or trying to prevent a dictator from being in power. Then oust that government and then take over power.
And
then they refuse to then hand over power. At least if you're taking over the power, the assumption would be that it's because you have the best interest of the people at heart, and that you want to organize a free and fair elections or help a seamless transition back to civilian rule. But no, they then hold on to power for themselves. Like we say, power corrupts, and absolute
I would like to
corrupts
also hear what their genuine reasons are, because like I've always said, the things that you will hear being mouthed off, in a lot of, international, and, the media organizations may not necessarily be the truth.